All right, this is grade 3, module 2, lesson 10, and we're going to be using some estimation in talking about liquid volume using liters and milliliters. And the idea would be, if you really think about measuring volume, liquid volume in particular, we're really talking about a vertical number line, which is going to be key in rounding at a later date, later grade at least. And so the idea would be, as a teacher, you might want to think about creating some frame of reference from some sort of schema. So take an empty 200-liter bottle, fill up, okay, you know how the bottle begins with the rounded part at down there? Okay, so the idea would be fill up the water up to, so that you get beyond that and you're kind of at the straight part of the 2-liter bottle, and then mark it. Use a ink pen and mark it. And then you have a smaller beaker of 100 milliliters. All right, borrow that from your science teacher. You might even have it in your cooking equipment at home. And then fill up 100 milliliters of water and pour it in. And what's going to happen is that water is going to, of course, go up, and it's going to go up some amount, and then you're going to mark it. Then you're going to pour in another bottle of a beaker of water, and it's going to go up, and then you're going to mark it with your pen. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a graduated cylinder. It's just going to go up, and it's going to go up, and it's going to go up. And essentially you'll be able to say, okay, this bottom one, not down here, because that was the bumpy, uneven section. So we're going to ignore that. And we're going to start down here and call that 0. Then this is 100, 200, 300, and I should call these milliliters, right? So make sure you think about milliliters, etc. All right, so essentially we're creating this schema, this frame of reference. Now let's move on. So I chose this problem from the problem set, mostly because I just didn't like the question and I was afraid that it might frustrate teachers. So let me talk about this. The question says, label the vertical number line on the container to the right. Well, label it in what way? It didn't say that these intervals went up in any particular fashion. So I looked at the answer key. And the answer key says that these intervals indeed go up in by 100. So this would be 200 milliliters. This would be 300 milliliters, 400 milliliters, 500 milliliters, 600 milliliters, etc. Looks like the very top is going to be 1,000 milliliters. But what's another name for 1,000 milliliters? Well, instead of calling it 1,000 milliliters, we could call this 1 liter if we wanted to. That's kind of the cool thing, and that's the thing that we want our students to become totally familiar with. 1,000 milliliters is equal to 1 liter. And then let's get back to the problem. What did you label at the halfway mark? Well, now we know, because the halfway mark is 500 right here, because down here is 0, and so half of that would be 500. Halfway up would be 500. Then the idea would be explain how pouring each cup of water helped you create I don't like the fact that cup. You got to be careful with cup, because that's an actual measurement tool, right? But anyway, think back to our experience where we were pouring water into that empty 2-liter bottle. How did that help us? Well, it let us know that since our little beaker was 100 milliliters, that means each interval represents 100 milliliters. So that's kind of what we've represented over here. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. So the idea with measurement is it's a whole lot like just regular old arithmetic. The milliliters, or the milligrams, or the centimeters, and all that sort of stuff, they act just like numbers. And really, it's the units that matter, and that's why you're EngageNY and Eureka Math, the official title is A Story of Units. So in this case, we happen to be dealing with liters, And we're going to estimate. Basically, these are like a vertical number line. And we're supposed to estimate, and this looks to be about 5 liters, right around there, 5 liters. This right here looks to be about 2 liters, a little less than 2 liters. That looks pretty darn right in the middle, so that's good enough for me to say 3.5 liters. But if somebody wanted to say 3 liters, or somebody else wanted to say 4 liters, that would be perfectly fine too. And then this last one right here, this looks like it's just a little bit above 2 liters. And so it turns out when we're estimating liters, it's a lot like estimating numbers on a number line. And our last slide, we have a vertical number line here, and it represents liters. You can see the labels here are liters. And Kristen is comparing the capacity of gas tanks of cars. Use the chart below to answer the questions. So, question A, label the number line to show the capacity of each gas tank. The medium has been done for us. So let's see, the medium is 57, and then if we zoom in, sure enough, we can see that, well, if this is 50 and this is 60, midway would be 55. And so that means each interval, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not counting tick marks, we're counting intervals. And then 6, 7. So there's our 57. So sure enough, the medium is 57. And let's kind of zoom out a little bit. And okay, let's do large, and we'll do it in red. Large is 74. So we are going to scroll up, and we're going to zoom in. And we know that halfway, because we've just looked at it, is 75 liters. We're looking for 74. So 74 is going to be right there. And we're going to label that large, because that's what they said so. And then let's do in green. And small is 42. So we're going to go down, and we're going to scroll and zoom in. There's 40 down here. There's 50 up here. Right in the middle is 45 liters. So 42 is going to be 2 intervals up. And there's 42, and that's small. And we'll zoom out. And if we wanted to, we could answer the additional questions, but they're fairly easy. Which car has the greatest capacity? Well, the large. Which car had the least capacity? Well, the small. And the idea would be the higher up gets bigger, the lower down is smaller. And that is grade 3, Module 2, Lesson 10.